Next thing I'm going to look at is estimating the mean from grouped data. Now, from the information on this table, we don't know exactly how long each of the 5 worms in the interval 0 to 3 measured. So remember here, this data is grouped. Okay? So what you're saying here is, all we know that is that the number of worms that measured from 0 to 3 centimeters were 5 worms. So we can estimate that they measured on average 1.5 centimeters. So basically, we can estimate that they measured 0 plus 3 divided by 2, which will be equal to 1.5 centimeters. Now, this is what we call the midpoint. Okay, so this is the midpoint of the lengths from 0 to 3. Similarly, the exact length for each of the worm measuring between 3 to 6 centimeters is unknown. So what I mean here is from 3 to 6, well, from 3 to 6 centimeters, we don't know how, we know that there are 6 worms, but we don't know each of these worms, the length of each of these worms. So what we can do is we can try to find an estimate of the length of these worms. So on average, these worms will have measured. So on average, these worms will have measured 3 plus 6 divided by 2, which will give us 4.5 centimeters. Now, this is the midpoint, again, of that class interval. This is the midpoint of that class interval. So, what we can do is we can include a third column, x, to show the midpoint of each class interval. So basically, 0 plus 3 divided by 2 will have 1.5. 3 plus 6 divided by 2, we have 4.5. 6 plus 9 divided by 2, we have 7.5. And 9 plus 12 divided by 2, we have 10.5. 12 plus 15 divided by 2, we have 13.5. And these are what we call the midpoints of each of those class intervals. Okay. Now we will use the midpoint to create an estimate of the mean. So basically, before I go into that, I want to go into some details here. So from the information in the table above, we can say that each of the 5 worms measured 1.5 centimeters. Therefore, so each of so here I'm talking about this group here. This group here. Right? So I'm talking about that group here. So what you're saying here is each of the 5 worms measured 1.5 centimeters. Therefore, we can estimate their total length of these 5 worms, suppose you put them together, we can estimate their total length. So therefore, just right here, therefore the total length will be, there are 5 worms on average, each worm measures 1.5 centimeters, so the total length will be 5 multiplied by 1.5, which will give us 7.5 centimeters. So basically what we are saying is that the total length of these 5 worms will be 7.5 centimeters. We can do the same for the next row. So on average, here each worm measures 4.5 centimeters in the second row, and there are 6 of them. So what we can do is 6 times 4.5, which will give us 27. So approximately these 6 worms, if you put them together, they will measure 27 centimeters. Next one, we have 7 times 7.5, which will give us 52.5. And then we have 8 times 10.5, which will give us 84. Then we have 4 multiplied by 13.5, which will give us 54. So in total, if we add all this, we'll have 225. So this will be 225. Now this 225, this is basically an estimate of the total length of all worms. So estimate of total length of all worms. Okay, and remember here, if we add the frequencies, we'll end up with 30. Now 30 here represents the total number of worms. So 30 here represents the total number of worms. If I can just circle this and say this is total number of worms. Okay, so what we have here is we have an estimate of the total length of all worms and total number of worms. So suppose you want to find the average length of each worm. So average length of each worm. That will be equal to total length of all worms, total length of all worms, divide by total number of worms. Okay, so from the table we have total length of all worms, which is 225. Total number of worms is 30, which means that the average length of each worm is 7.5 centimeters. Okay, so just remember that 7.5 centimeters is only an estimate because we do not know the exact length of the 30 worms measured. Okay, this is just an estimate. So what I'm trying to say here is 7.5 centimeters is only an estimate because we do not know the exact length of the 30 worms measured. Remember, in our mathematical process, we used midpoints and lost some accuracy. So the moment you start using midpoints, you lose some accuracies of what the measurement of each of the worms. So this is because we used midpoints. And lost some accuracy in our mathematical process.